Welcome. Very excited to have you here today with Asentiv Insights as I am joined by Shawn Yesner. Greetings, Shawn.
Hey, Tiffany, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Yep,
So,
you too.
who are you? Where are you? And what do you do?
So, my name is Shawn Yesner. I am an attorney. Right now, I'm in Clearwater, which is part of Tampa Bay, here in Pinellas County in Central Florida. And what I do is I help people who want more money at the end of the month rather than more month at the end of the money. So I help people who are in debt to get out of debt.
Gotcha. And what got you into that?
It's interesting. So a lot of the reason for why I do what I do is what got me into this. It seems to be the natural fit. So my why goes all the way back to when I was growing up and how I was bullied growing up. Not bullied by the jocks necessarily, but bullied by other groups within my school growing up. And so really why I do what I do is because it just drives me crazy when people feel like they're getting bullied by these banks that just want money. And so what I try to do is help them find a way to get the bank or the creditor or whoever off their back so that they can resolve that debt so they don't have that hanging over them.
Gotcha. And how long have you been, it's kind of a two-part question here. How long have you been an attorney and how long has it been since you started Yesner Law?
You're going to make me feel old now. I passed the Florida bar in 1998. So as we record this, I'm coming up on my 25th year, quarter century of being an attorney. I first started my firm in 2004. So I've been almost now 20 years on my own as an attorney.
Gotcha. And tell us a little bit about Yesner Law.
So we've really got two sides to the practice. And so we've got the debt side and the bankruptcy side and the negotiation side and all that. And I got into that area because I did a lot of real estate law. And so I was doing foreclosures and representing banks and representing real estate investors and helping with real estate closings and transactions. So the footprint of the law firm is the entire state of Florida. I'm not licensed beyond our state borders, but I can cover anywhere in the state of Florida, any state court or federal court. And especially now in this day of Zoom and telephone hearings and video hearings, I can pretty much practice in any court within the state of Florida.
Gotcha. Excellent. And what have been some of your biggest challenges in growing your business over the past almost couple of decades?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge is something that I give Asentiv a lot of credit for helping me with, and that's the Room Full of Referrals course, the behavioral styles. You know me, I'm a very high nurturer, examiner, and having to integrate with people that I hire that might be go-getters or might be promoters. And especially in my networking, when do I turn on the promoter to try to generate the relationships, to generate the business, and understanding that when I get home from a networking event or when I get home from a long day and I'm totally exhausted, it may not be physical exhaustion. It may just be the nurturer and the examiner in me saying, slow down. We need a chance to reset. And so just learning how to manage those personalities and learning how to manage those behavioral styles, how to understand those behavioral styles. I think that's probably been my biggest challenge and what Asentiv has helped me with the most.
What difference do you think it has made for you knowing now what you do about behavioral styles?
It allows me to kind of step back and step out. We had a staff meeting earlier this week. We have a staff meeting every week. And so of course it's in my calendar every week, same time and same agenda and same everything. But we had our staff meeting and things started to get a little contentious. And I was able to take a step back and say, wait a minute. And I was able to talk to the employee that was coming at me from a go-getter perspective. And I was able to talk to her in a way in her style that allowed me to communicate what I wanted to communicate for purposes of the law firm to kind of get the meeting back on track and keep the meeting on track. I've told you before, understanding Room Full of Referrals, if I do happen to be lucky enough to have a client in my office, I can change the background on my computer screens that the client or potential client can see. And so, for example, if I know I'm talking to an examiner, I'll have, an Excel spreadsheet put up. If I'm talking to a nurturer, I'll have my family on the background. So understanding the different behavioral styles has helped me both to get clients. It's helped me to make sure I get the best staff, make sure I interact correctly with the staff, make sure the staff can interact directly or correctly with each other.
So if there's another company facing similar issues, what are your suggestions for them to overcome that challenge?
Well, definitely look into the room full of referrals through the Asentiv program and you learning how to manage people, I think, has been the biggest benefit there. So understanding how to manage people and understanding how to, you can get people to support you and do the things that they need to do to be successful in their jobs when you understand what motivates them and how to motivate them. And so I've taken Room Full of Referrals multiple times. I've taken a lot of the other Asentiv programs. I've read the book a couple of times. And so I think using those resources through Asentiv is what I would suggest.
Awesome. Sounds good to me. So we talked a little bit about the past, a little bit about the present. What's on the horizon for you? What's the next 5 years going to look like for Yesner Law?
So that's interesting. I just turned 50. I've been doing this now 20, 25 years. I love doing it. I love being an attorney. I love helping people. I'm still trying to figure out, do I want to be the attorney that goes in and argues in court, or do I want to be the business owner that sets other people up to be successful within their own business? But I think 5 years from now, I think it's transitioning more to the latter, more towards helping younger attorneys to start to develop their own book of business, start to develop their own practices, set up the law firm where I can then transition it, maybe even possibly sell it or be a consultant or something like that. Still practice law, still get to cherry pick the cases that I want to handle. But I think the 5-year vision for me is to really set up the law firm to a point that it runs on its own, that all I really have to do is manage the pieces. And I can decide, what do I want to do? When do I want to do it? How involved do I want to be? What cases do I want to get involved in? But otherwise, just support the people that work with me to be as successful as they can be.
I love the vision and the cherry picking of what exactly is it that I want. And we've got other people that can do other things.
Exactly.
And you've heard us say at Asentiv before, it's all about the amazing business and spectacular life. And so it sounds like that vision has some amazing business happening. What does the spectacular life side of it, the non-work side of it, look like for you?
So my kids are 11 and almost 9. So 5 years from now, we'll be learning how to drive. We'll be getting into high school. I'll be totally scared out of my mind. But as we record this, I'm about to take a week-long vacation. And so my goal on this vacation is to leave my computer behind, not do any work while I'm gone for a week. What I would love that to look like in the future is maybe I can extend that vacation to a month or 2 months or something like that. Having the business set me up personally to be able to donate and give back to the things I like to do. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge FSU supporter. So maybe I can give back to my college and support them that way. Help my wife, help my kids, be there more for them. I'm heavily involved in the things that my kids do. And so continuing with that kind of stuff. And that's what Asentiv has allowed me to create on the personal side.
That's awesome. Now, both business and personal, any things that might come up, any obstacles or challenges that you've already identified that might get in the way of that 5-year vision?
I think probably it's just staying focused. For me, it's staying focused, especially going back to Room Full of Referrals, going back to the examiner. I write everything down. I am old fashioned. I have books. I have lists. I have goals that I write down. I examine my goals every month, every week, every quarter, every year. And so I think the main thing for me is just staying focused on what does that vision look like? What do those goals look like? Where do I want to be in 5 years? and then backing that up. So am I doing things, I know what my 5-year goal is. What do I need to have done, year 1 or year 2 to be on track for that? And then what do I need to have done, the end of 12 months to be set up for a year? What do I need to do 6 months? What do I need to do the end of the quarter? What do I need to do by the end of this week? What do I need to do by the end of this day? Just keeping that focus. And you told me once, I think, Tiffanie, making sure that I give myself permission. If I happen to miss a goal, it's okay. I can just work that much harder to make it up as we go forward. Giving myself permission to say I'm not perfect, I think, is okay.
Yes, I think sometimes, and we do have to be careful not to just say I'm lazy and I'm not doing it, but I think sometimes it is important for us to give ourselves grace if we don't quite get exactly where we want to be, but maybe the universe was telling us we're not going in the right direction for that one.
Yeah, or maybe I'm not there yet, but I'm a lot closer than I would be had I not focused on it, and I'll just need a little bit more to get there.
Awesome, excellent. Now, when it comes to all the success that you're creating, do referrals play a part?
Referrals are the lifeblood. I mean, as an attorney, the Florida bar, and I think other state bar associations have restrictions on how we can advertise for clients. And so I get all of my referrals, or all of my business basically comes by referral. I do some social media, some internet. I've got the podcast, so I've got some other things out there to generate business, but without referrals, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't have the law firm. I wouldn't I'd be doing probably something totally different without referrals right now.
Well, it's awesome that referrals make such a difference. And I know sometimes our goal is to teach our referral sources to refer us. And so if it was between you and another attorney, like as your referral source, what would I say about you? What sets you apart from your competition? How are you different?
I think the way that I'm different is that I know both sides of the equation because I've worked both for the creditors and for the people that owe the money. I still do some work for some creditors that are trying to collect money. So I know both sides of the equation. I really try to figure out what is the best result for the client and how do we get them there. I'm always going to be honest with the client. I mean, I had a conversation with a client today, came into my office wanting to file bankruptcy, but that was not their best choice. That was not their best option. I could have jammed them into a bankruptcy and made my money and gone on about my day, but that wasn't the best result for them. So I kind of almost see myself as that doctor that, I'm going to figure out what the problem is and then figure out how to fix it. I'm not going to, not every nail needs a hammer. Not every, screw needs a flat head versus a Phillips head. So I'm going to try to figure out what the problem is and then tailor the result or tailor the plan to that problem.
That is awesome. And such a powerful thing to do to make sure it's right. Not one size fits all, but we've got that opportunity and that focus. So I've got one last question for you, Shawn, and you and I both know you're a fan of horn tooting. When somebody says, how are you doing? You get to share what's going new, what's exciting. And so, Shawn, how are you doing? What's coming up new?
I am doing great, Tiffanie. This week has been all about interviews. So I did an interview on one of our local Fox news stations about how to get out of debt. I'm doing this interview with you right now. I was a guest on another podcast episode by a real estate investor, client of mine. I am speaking tomorrow at an online networking educational event called PodFest, all about podcasting and intellectual property rights. And so this has been the week of speaking engagements for me.
Well, I'm going to say, and don't you usually record your own podcast on Friday? So you add that one in too?
We record on Fridays, we release on Thursdays. So yeah, I've always got that speaking engagement going on where I'm creating content with my co-host for the podcast.
So do me a favor, where can people find you, both the law firm, both as well as your podcast and you have a free book that people can check out?
Yeah. So the podcast is called Crushing Debt. It is available anywhere someone would listen to a podcast. So I know it's on YouTube, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify. It's if someone listens to a podcast, they can type in Crushing Debt. It's there. The law firm is Yesner Law. That's one S in Yesner, Yesner Law. And that's the website, yesnerlaw.com. And then the book is How to Become Debt-Free in Less Than 1 Hour. And so you can get that. There's a website I set up, ShawnMyesner.com/become debt-free. But that book, as well as my first book, which is also Crushing Debt, both of those are also available on Amazon, but they can get the Become Debt-Free book at the ShawnMyesner.com/become debt-free.
Awesome. Well, Shawn, I want to say thank you so very much for taking your time to be here with us today to share your successes that have already happened and that will be coming soon.
Thank you.
For the viewing audience, thank you so very much for being here with us. Stay tuned for our next interview coming up soon. As always, have that amazing business and spectacular life. Happy networking, y'all.